Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Main Street Moments and Beyond podcast. I'm Kathy.
And Brian.
And today we're going to talk about an article that was in the news recently.
It's in the news everywhere, actually.
Yeah, it's in the news. Everybody's kind of talking about it. I put it on our Facebook group, Main Street Moments and Beyond group. And it's about how they've had a lot of police reports for cast members, or should I say friends of characters, that have been touched inappropriately or actually injured in a couple cases by guests at the parks. And apparently this is a big problem.
Well, maybe. We'll see.
I told Brian, I said, because he said, is this a new thing? And I said, no, I think this has always been happening. It might even have been worse in the 70s and 80s.
I don't know.
Well, the difference is this. When I was a kid, we've talked about this before, characters would walk around the park outside and you would go up to them and talk to them. I don't think they had character attendants. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. But now they're in separate rooms where they stay for, a certain length of time, and you go and meet them in a separate room, a separate area designated for that character. So I don't know if that's why there's an issue.
Well, I'll read through the article here to get some details. But I think what's happening here, is because all of a sudden we're hearing about all of these incidents of guests inappropriately touching characters at the meet and greets. And I think what's going on here, while we're hearing about this all of a sudden, is not that it's new. I'm sure things like this have happened since the beginning of Walt Disneyland out in California. What's different, I think, and the reason this is happening is because of the photo passes. They can figure out who did these things. Like in the past, before photo passes, before everything was computerized, people would go and take pictures with the characters with their own personal camera. And they'd leave, and you didn't have magic bands. Magic bands are new.
Now there's like a record.
Yeah, so now when you go with a character, your magic band, they know who you are, and it's very easy for them to determine. All they have to do is say, well, what time did this happen, Cinderella? And they'll, it happened at 1:15, and they'll go and find you.
Maybe the friends of characters are starting to feel that something can actually be done about it.
Well, they can track down who did it, because if this was like the 80s or even the 90s, before you had the photo pass, before you had the magic band, they wouldn't know.
No.
There would be no way for them to know who was in there. Now, they don't just have your picture. They know who you are by your name because of the magic bands.
We used to take our own pictures.
And the magic band tracks you everywhere, because in some photo opportunities on rides, you don't swipe, you don't scan your magic band. It picks it up while you're on the ride. So Disney knows where you are all the time with the magic bands, and everybody has them. But this article here, this is from the Associated Press. There's lots of articles all over the place about this.
I feel bad for these.
Yeah, it says Associated Press, Orlando, Florida.
I feel bad for the characters, not the people that are touching them. Let's be clear here.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I just want to be clear. I feel bad.
Do you really have to clarify that?
Well, you never know. I feel bad for the characters because there's really not much they can do at the time. They're in character. The friends of characters. They're and what are they going to do in front of everybody? And they're in a bad. They're kind of
I'm curious. Well, maybe they'll tell us in the story. I don't know. Maybe they'll say. But anyway, Orlando, Florida, Associated Press, Walt Disney World employees who portray Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Donald Duck. Well, that's interesting. There's no princesses in here.
Well, there was one that filed a report that was
maybe
Ariel.
there's one
Remember
later.
A guy touched Ariel.
Oh yeah, there is one. Yeah. Okay, there is a princess one down here.
She filed a claim too.
Walt Disney World employees who portray Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Donald Duck each filed police reports this month claiming they were inappropriately touched by tourists. Now, who would inappropriately touch a duck and a mouse? I mean, what is there? Some weird guests. These are some strange people.
Well, no, one lady, it wasn't anything, she just kept tapping the head, and it hurt the neck.
Well, that's the first one here.
Yeah.
The woman inside the Mickey Mouse costume went to the hospital with neck injuries caused by a grandmother patting the character's head, while the employees wearing the Minnie Mouse and Donald Duck costumes were groped by tourists, according to the Orange County Sheriff Office report. The incidents come after a 51-year-old man was arrested in November after an employee portraying a Disney princess told investigators he groped her breast while getting a photo taken. I think that was Ariel at the grotto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. And they actually got this guy inside the park. So I don't know where in the park, but he was actually picked up inside the park. I think they might have waited for him to leave the gate so that they didn't have something like this happen on property. It says here, everyone should feel safe at work, and we encourage cast members to come forward in any uncomfortable situation, said a Disney spokeswoman in a statement. We provide multiple resources to protect our cast members, protect their well-being, including on-site law enforcement officers who respond and are available to them if needed. A 36-year-old woman who plays Mickey Mouse at the Magic Kingdom told investigators a woman patted the head of her costume 5 times, causing it to slide down and strain her neck, the Orlando Sentinel
and those
reported.
Heads look heavy. They look heavy.
The employee told investigators she didn't believe the woman intentionally hurt her, and the sheriff's office ruled the December 4th incident a civil matter, not a criminal one. The tourist family said they weren't even aware the employee had been taken to the hospital until they were contacted by the newspaper for this article. I don't even think that actually belongs in the article.
No,
that's like
a
workplace injury.
Yeah, but true, but it still fits in the umbrella of touching.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, I would say that's a little inappropriate. I've never patted Mickey's head. I just sit, I'm always in a wheelchair and they'll put their arm around me. I'll give them a hug.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And you don't really put your arm around them. And, we kind of don't do that. But I've never felt the urge to pat Mickey's head so hard that it slid forward and was hanging on the neck. The poor woman, my God.
Now, the son-in-law of the woman in question, of the guest, okay, this is the son-in-law of the woman who was patting Mickey's head. He said that his mother-in-law patted Mickey to prove to her nearly 2-year-old nervous grandson that he should not be scared of the giant rodent. She barely touched him, he said, adding his mother-in-law would not intentionally hurt Mickey Mouse. It was very minimal. The family was confused whether Disney has a no-touching rule for the costume characters, since they give high fives and hugs to visitors.
Well, I think that's all going to stop. I really do. I think what's going to happen is, unfortunately, I don't know, but I could see where they say nobody touches anybody. Like Mickey can't touch, you can't, nothing. Because it's becoming a big problem.
Some of the characters, Mickey in particular and Chewbacca at Hollywood Studios, they hug everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Okay, so that's, and back to this. So this is the son-in-law.
I hope they don't do that.
But. Yeah, the son-in-law of the woman with Mickey, with the head pat, said no one at the park said anything to them until hours later when they tried to check into their Disney hotel.
Oh, boy.
Disney interviewed his wife. They definitely tried to insinuate
oh my gosh,
it was on purpose.
Wow.
The same day, the 36-year-old Disney employee who portrays Minnie Mouse posed for pictures with a man and his wife from Minnesota. Minnie Mouse gave the man a hug, and he groped her chest 3 times, according to the sheriff's incident report. She alerted her supervisor and identified, see, here we are back to the photo path. She alerted her supervisors and identified pictures of the man who's 61 years old. She decided against pressing charges. In a phone interview,
I wonder why.
The guy that the name of the guy's in the article. I'm not going to say the name of the guy. In a phone interview with the 61-year-old man in question, he denied the accusation. He told the Associated Press on Friday that the woman had misidentified him. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying that it was not me who did it. But it wasn't the only time his name was raised by Disney World employees during his trip. He also had this is a piece of work. He also had an inappropriate interaction with a cast member December 5th at the Magic Kingdom, according to an incident report that didn't provide any additional details.
He didn't do that one either.
No. There's this other creepy person that goes around all this photo pack. Exactly. Yeah. Disney declined to elaborate on him, and they did not know what the alleged incident involved. They said Disney took some action to ban this man, who was a Disney Vacation Club member. Now this is interesting. If they ban him, does he still have to pay for his Vacation Club membership?
Probably.
Or is this an out? Because that thing costs a lot of money, and it goes on for your life.
That's interesting, but I guarantee you he's not going to get out of his contract.
Well, he can't go back. Listen to this.
Because this is something he did.
Well, listen to what they did
allegedly,
to him. Okay, now these Disney Vacation Clubs, they ain't cheap, right? Disney took some action to ban the man, who is a Disney Vacation Club member, from the theme parks. As a result, he was trespassed from all of Walt Disney World property.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, to exclude the Saratoga Springs report.
Saratoga.
Or the Saratoga. Oh, what did I say?
You said Saratoga Springs report.
Oh, okay. I'm a little loopy here with all these crazy people here. To exclude the Saratoga Springs Resort.
Yeah, because that's his DVC.
Because they wanted to still pay. So he could go to Saratoga Springs. That is
crazy.
But he could go nowhere else but Saratoga Springs.
He might want to look into that. That's a little weird. He should get out of his contract.
Yeah, I tell you, these Disney people, they don't mess around. They don't want him to get out of that DVC membership.
He's banned from every piece of property
except his home resort. That's
pretty gutsy. Golly. I mean, I don't disagree that he should be banned.
That's hilarious.
But I think well, you know,
they're really sticking it to this guy.
They really are sticking it to him.
And by the way, what about the
poor wife?
What about the cast members of Saratoga Springs? I'm sure they have character meetups and some. Can he go to the character breakfast over there at Saratoga Springs?
I don't know.
This is crazy.
It's a free for all. I guess.
On December 3rd, this is all recent stuff, so it's getting all freaky up there. On December 3rd, deputies received a call about a guest mistreating a costume character at an Animal Kingdom restaurant. The woman in her 60s asked if she could kiss Donald Duck, the incident report said. Donald Duck agreed, but the situation escalated as the 18-year-old employee playing the character said the woman began touching and grabbing the character's arms, chest, belly, and face. The employee moved towards another Disney employee for help, but the woman followed her, holding on, and then frantically put her hands inside the character's costume, touching her chest, the incident report says.
Wow.
This is a woman. This is an old lady. This is 60. How old was she? Let's see here, Donald. Okay, how old was the woman? In her 60s. A woman in her 60s.
These seem to be older people doing this. It's not even young people. It's like people over 60. What's
going
on?
I know.
They're getting some cheap thrills, I guess.
What's going on here?
Got a thing for characters.
The woman's family shouted for her to stop, and the attendant led the employee to the break room.
Oh, my gosh.
The employee later decided not to press charges, telling authorities she believed the woman, who was not identified, may have had dementia.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So it's getting a little crazy up there at Disney World.
Well, I wonder if, I'm not excusing this behavior at all. Obviously, it's totally unacceptable. But, I do notice when people meet these characters, even when you're an adult and you know what's really going on, okay, you're not 4 years old, you still feel like you're really meeting Mickey and Minnie. And you know what I mean? You forget there's a person in there sometimes. And I wonder if when they're touching them, they don't mean to touch them inappropriately. Sometimes they just think they're like a real mouth. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like they're so caught up in the moment.
Okay.
Maybe they don't realize there's like a person they're actually handling inappropriately.
When I go and take pictures with the characters, okay, I take sometimes if I'm by myself, because I'll go up to vlog by myself sometimes, but a lot of times I do it with you or a daughter or both of you guys. When I take pictures with the characters, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, I don't touch anybody. I'll have my camera in one hand, because I've always got a camera in my hand, and I'll have my other hand in my pocket. Sometimes I'll put my arm around somebody. The Star Wars characters are different, because when I'm with the Star Wars characters, I'm all into it. I'm all into it. But I don't now.
But you're never inappropriate. Let's be clear.
I'm just a little uncomfortable sometimes in the pictures, putting my arms around people because they're younger people. It just seems a little odd to me sometimes and uncomfortable for me to do it sometimes.
Well, when you meet the princesses don't put their arms around people.
Usually what they do is with...
Mickey and them do.
With the princess... Now, I have taken pictures with most of the princesses.
Yeah.
And what they do...
They might hook your arm.
Is they hook your arm, yeah.
Right, which is totally fine.
Which I do, yeah. But like if I'm with Chewbacca, I'll put my arm around Chewbacca.
Well, he's a hugger. Remember, he gives the best hugs in the galaxy.
But the safest, with all this craziness, you can't go wrong with BB-8 at Hollywood Studios because he's just the android. So you can't,
you're not going to offend him.
No, but by the way, I did pull up the article on the princess who was groped. So let's go through that one in a second. But this is something I wonder, and I don't know. The Disney College program has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's bigger now than it used to be.
Yeah.
And what I wonder is, say in the 90s and before, were the people that worked there an older demographic than they are now? Are there younger people working there now as the friends of the characters
Well, this
than
one
years
who you
ago?
talked about was 36.
Yeah,
The
that's
one in the
true.
Mickey
The
costume,
Mickey
which I was
Mouse was
surprised she
36.
was
Yeah,
36.
yeah,
Because I thought they were all young people.
yeah. Yeah, so did I. And
They go by height when they
yeah,
cast you for
a lot
that.
of it.
That's the first thing they go by.
The reason I bring up age is not any age discrimination thing. I just wonder if, well, the 36-year-old, that was like a physical injury. I'm talking about like the inappropriateness. I'm just wondering if maybe someone is 18 or 19 and when they run into somebody who's kind of creepy, they may not handle it as better as someone that's older with some experience than dealing with creepy men. You understand what I mean? Because I don't know. It just,
You mean like you think they're overreacting
I
or
don't
reporting things that maybe they should just let go?
No, no, no. I don't think they're overreacting. What I mean is this story I'm going to read next is the guy that got inappropriate with the princess. Okay, this guy, I saw the pictures of him.
Yeah,
I would have known this guy was a creep 10 miles away.
yeah.
So what I'm
So
wondering,
she's probably like, holy
if
crap.
someone who's a little younger,
Right.
maybe they don't know how to be a little more preemptive. They see someone,
Right. Well, yeah, they
you
don't
know what
have
I
the
mean?
life experiences like,
They're-
but they're not going to have a
Me,
45-year-old princess.
I would be on red alert with this guy.
Right.
If I saw his picture.
Well, I'm sure she was, but she's sitting there. She's not in a fur costume. It's her face. She's a face character. So
Yeah.
she can't like hide under that. She's there, and Ariel's like in a bathing suit with the
Yeah,
with the
exactly.
fin. So she's really exposed. She's probably one of the least dressed of the princesses. She's not in like Cinderella with the full.
It's
gown
harder
and the
for Ariel
gloves
to get
and
away because she can't swim away.
She can't walk away.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
exactly.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I've never met Ariel. Isn't she
I've never
on a rock sometimes?
I have
and sometimes
never.
she's standing.
I've
I don't
never
know.
going to that. I've never gone to that photo op with Ariel. Well, let me read the article.
So,
This is
she's
from
kind of a sitting duck, I guess.
This is USA Today back in November 6th. Okay, Florida man arrested accused of groping princess character at Disney World. A 51-year-old man accused of groping a cast member was arrested at Walt Disney World on Saturday, according to an arrest report provided to USA Today by the Orange County Sheriff's Office in Florida. They also say his name. I'm not going to mention the names of these people. He was visiting the park with his wife. He was arrested after the couple approached a Disney princess cast member for a photo, according to the report. He put his arm around the princess and then moved his hand lower so that he could cup the victim's bra.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it says here, so that he could cup the victim's bra with his right hand.
That's awful.
When the coworker noticed, they told him to remove his hand by suggesting a different pose. Okay, so she was handling this pretty smartly.
But why can't Ariel just be like, push his hand away? Does she have to sit there with his hand on her boob and
I don't know.
and sit there and take it?
Well, these things are pretty fast.
These characters have
fast.
to be able to put up like some boundaries here. Okay, I think it's totally fine. She can stay in character.
Yeah,
but I think it's totally fine for the character, the friends of characters, to set some boundaries and not like sit there and have to take this abuse. I mean, you push the hand away and then you make the guy leave or do whatever you got to do.
So when the couple left,
I'm sure she was just in such shock.
Absolutely. When the couple left, coworkers closed the room. The victim, this is the princess, began shaking and crying.
Oh, I bet.
Photos taken during the incident were used to help identify the person. He was arrested on a charge of battery. In a statement provided to USA Today by a spokesperson, Disney officials did step in. Orange County Sheriff's Office was on site, immediately stepped in, and this is now a law enforcement matter. The Disney statement read, "Everyone should feel safe at work, and we encourage cast members to come forward in any uncomfortable situation." This guy was a major creep. And when you look at his, and they use the photo pass to identify him.
Well, I think what's going to happen is, I definitely feel with the princesses, they need to set certain ground rules. And when you come in, you just say, you cannot put your arm around the princess, but you can hook arms or explain, like the attendant or the photographer explains immediately what is acceptable. Because they're going to have to set some boundaries for these. It's not right for these friends of characters to have to put up with this.
Yeah.
I know it's, back in the day, they probably told them, well, it's part of the job, but that's not going to fly these days. So I think they need to set some boundaries. Obviously with kids, there's not going to have an issue because they're little kids.
Well, yeah.
But adults, they need to set some boundaries
some
and
of these
say,
stories,
you cannot put your arm around the character anymore.
Some of these stories, they didn't say that one with the princess was. Did they say Magic Kingdom? Because Ariel's also at Hollywood Studios, right? This is what I'm wondering.
She has a show there.
Oh, that was at the Grotto.
That's the show we've seen.
Because I was wondering.
But she has her whole grotto area.
So it must have been the Grotto
at Magic Kingdom.
Well, there's no alcohol at Magic Kingdom for the most part, unless you're at a sit-down restaurant.
So you can't use that as your excuse.
Well, like at Epcot or Hollywood Studios, you could say, well, they've been drinking all day and they're out of their minds. You know, what they may need to do is have, I mean, this sounds crazy, okay? And I know it sounds crazy. But they need to have maybe some bouncer type guys around these princesses. They need to maybe have.
That's nuts.
I'm not saying have bouncers, but they got to, I mean, have more. No. There's Disney security around all the time. You see them, and they're in their uniforms, and they have the earpieces. Maybe they should have some Disney security guys around some of these character meetups, so at least some of these creeps would see that and maybe not do this, because I'm sure this happens a lot more often than it's reported.
So have like the Disney security guard. I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like have them standing there in the corner,
somewhere in the room,
just with watching.
Yeah,
maybe. But then that maybe that's a possible. I don't know. I think also they need to have the character attendant or the photographer when you come in. They say,
yeah,
you cannot put your arm around the character. You can hook arms and that's it. And then if that was the case, the minute this guy put his arm around her shoulder, the photographer said, "You got to move your hand right now. You can't. That's not allowed.
No touching. Yeah.
No touching. That's not allowed. You can only hook arms."
But what about the characters hugging guests?
Well, that's what I'm saying. With the other characters, it seems it's an issue too. So I don't know how you do it.
And you can't have that regulation for kids, right?
I think they should.
So what would the age be?
I think what's going to happen with adults is they're going to get to a place where we're going to say these poses are acceptable and these are not. And they're going to say you can hook arms or you can put your arms at your side. You mean like have
diagrams when you're in line waiting?
Or they explain it, yeah. And they say you can have your arms at your side or you can hook arms, but no arms around the waist or the shoulders. They're going to have to do something to protect. I mean, they're having too many problems. They're going to have to do something to protect the friends of characters. I mean, because they're going to start getting a little frightened. I mean, it is, to me, it's a great job because the kids are amazing. And anybody who's been a friend of a character that talks about on YouTube or whatever, they said that's the best part is the kids and how much they love it. And it's so exciting. But you are vulnerable. I mean, you're in character and you are there. You can't really say anything or do anything. You have to kind of roll with things. Yeah. And things can come up out of the blue and you're in such a state of shock sometimes. Yeah. So I think they're going to have to set up some parameters ahead of time as far as what positions are acceptable. Yeah. And I think putting the arm around the character,
of characters
other than hooking arms.
Over the age of 12 or something. I don't know.
You mean the guests over the age of...
Yeah. If you're... like they have the rules with the masks. You can't wear a costume or anything unless you're a certain age. It's
I think hooking arms is appropriate. That's totally benign. Yeah. But I think having somebody put their arm around you seems to be a problem. And the minute somebody starts touching a character on the back or in that area, the photographer or the attendant needs to stop them and say... You cannot do that. Well, you can only hook arms or put your arms at your side.
The attendants, being an attendant for a character is probably a more difficult job than you realize because there's a lot of considerations because people are waiting in line and then all of a sudden the character's got to leave and then you
have to be firm. You have to be firm with the guests but nice at the same time.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more difficult jobs at the park is working with the characters because...
But it's a fun job too, I've heard.
When you go... but you go up to someone, they've been waiting in line and say, oh, there was a time, not that long ago, I was at the parks with our daughter. My favorite characters at Magic Kingdom are the stepsisters. Yeah. They are hilarious. They're hilarious.
They're behind the castle.
Yeah, they're behind the castle. And if you start a conversation with them, they'll go... You mentioned Cinderella to them, and they'll just go off on Cinderella. Yeah, it's a lot of fun meeting the stepsisters. And I was up there not long ago with our daughter. This was on one of our vlogs. To meet the stepsisters, and we were the last people in line to meet the stepsisters, and they were switching out the stepsisters with the fairy princess, and these people have been waiting in line for a long time. It was hot out. It's outside because you're behind the castle.
But they have to do it at some point.
And they got upset. I mean, they started flipping out.
Well, what they should do is put up a rope and say no more people can get in line. And that's what you do.
And the cast member did their best, but they were a little outmatched by this person. So they just weren't able to convey to them this is the way it is enough. And they get in the person. So maybe having people that are a little more forceful in some of these situations in the room. I think they should have, if there's a princess, I think there should be security nearby. And the security would be a deterrent for most of these creeps.
They're there, but kind of not there. Maybe just kind of standing there in case something happens. But yeah, I think it's important to, the characters can put their arm around you if they want, or hug you or whatever, because they're going to do their job, okay? They're going to be professional and do their job. But for guests, I think if you're 12 and older or whatever, there should be maybe, since this is a problem, some suggested poses. And if somebody and the person who's taking the photograph or the attendant needs to really pay attention. And if somebody puts their hand, starts putting it around the waist, they say, you have to stop that. That's not acceptable here.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, this is the way it's going to have to be.
Well, there's obviously a lot of weirdos
people
around.
Are having problems.
Well, there is one thing we talk.
Well, there's definitely weirdos in the world for sure. Even at Disney.
One thing we talk about a lot, and a lot of people talk about this, is the amount of people that are intoxicated outside of Magic Kingdom. You can get alcohol at Magic Kingdom now at sit-down restaurants, which, I never thought I'd see the day that you could get alcohol at Magic Kingdom. And, there's...
Like beer and wine or like liquor?
I haven't ordered any alcohol in any of the sit-down restaurants at Magic Kingdom, but you can get some. I'm sure. I don't know, but it's interesting that this happens at Magic Kingdom, which is pretty much prohibition in place, except for the sit-down restaurants, as opposed to, say, Epcot, where you've got so many people stumbling around, can barely stand up. You would think there would be more incidents at Epcot than at Magic Kingdom. But I guess, you know what it is? I guess the creeps go to Magic Kingdom, I guess.
God, apparently so. God help us.
Because that's where a lot of this happens.
You just have to be careful and everything, that's the way it is. But unfortunately, it's hard to read things like that because you don't want to think of Disney in that way. But, we're, like you said, weirdos in the world, and even weirdos go to Disney sometimes.
That's right.
So anyway, if you are a guest and you go to Disney, please try to keep your hands to yourself.
Exactly.
And then you have the problem of
a
character or a friend of a character maybe misconstruing what you do as well. Like this woman who tapped the Mickey on the head. And next thing you know, they're showing up at her hotel and interviewing her. So, it goes, you got to be careful too. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, guys. Please leave your comments, what you think about this topic. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you guys in the parks.